Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Empowering You. Guys, we have a wonderful guest today, Mr. James Jensen. And I'm telling you, look, I have a list of the wonderful things that he has done, but look, one thing that I want to tell you, Scooby Doo, okay? Scooby Doo. I don't even know, like that's just one thing, okay? So I want him to share just the great things that he does and that he is going to be doing. And so we'll just go in, and I just want to start with Scooby Doo because that was so fun when I saw that. How did that happen, and how much fun was that?
Scooby Doo is kind of like mid game, mid journey, but my
Yeah.
dad was a farmer, and I kind of grew up in that. But luckily, we moved out because I didn't want to be a farmer. So, but he was also an illustrator and painter, so he did oil painting, and he taught me how to oil paint when I
And
was real
yep.
young. And then that kind of moved forward into computers when I was in the end of high school. Actually started using computers, and I fell in love with the undo button. So that's awesome. A lot easier than trying to paint over something. And I got into illustration, art, and design, and went to school for commercial art and design. And then I started my own creative agency. I worked for a creative agency, and I started my own creative agency. And in that creative agency, we started doing film and visual effects. And that's where I learned all the visual effects stuff that I did with computer animation. And that got us to doing Scooby
Scooby
Doo
Doo.
in Hollywood. We also did several other films. We did another film called Red Riding Hood that had one of the Backstreet Boys in it. It was kind of a B film, but that's where the concept of the void came from because we were doing motion capture, tracking, and real time animation on a set with actors. It was the first time I've ever done that. And when I saw we're doing these virtual worlds combined with physical, that's when I got really excited, and I wanted to be inside the computer at that point. And that's where the void was created from, which was my last company, which was a walking virtual reality simulation company. And that was fun. We had a relationship with Disney and Sony, and we built 23 locations worldwide. And I got to go into Star Wars and fight Darth Vader, and then hang out with Avengers, and it was really cool. Also, the
Yes.
Ghostbusters was honestly my favorite experience in that because you got to fight Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and we sprayed marshmallow scent, burnt marshmallow scent in at the end once you defeated him. So that was super fun. Um, all of that was kind of in the entertainment view because I'd come from entertainment, and I was
Yes.
building the 45D theater of the future where you're going on journeys with each other and fighting Darth Vader. It was cool. It was fun, but I didn't anticipate what I would find. What I found was actually a place that we created called hyper realism, or hyper reality is what I like to call it. We're using virtual reality, but you're also using a bunch of physical effects that are associated and synchronized with the virtual reality that you're seeing. And when you cross that line, you cross over to just kind of like reality. Your mind stores those experiences in a different places. Stores it just like if you were to go to Hawaii or whatever. Um, and it also allowed a person to relax and I wouldn't want to say force, but allows them very easily to get into a state of presence, which is very hard to get into. Most people are not present or in the moment. They're thinking about something in the future or the past, and that's where all stress and depression and anxiety and everything all comes from because you're creating something you think is going to happen and you're experiencing it in the moment where it's just not true. So that's where kind of like my mind exploded, like, wow, we created basically like all the perfect elements for a teaching environment, like the perfect teaching environment, and wanted to do something a lot more meaningful from that. And that's where Jump came from. Jump is my buddy's a pro wingsuit base jumper, and they do that and they risk their lives so many times because of the sensation, the feeling they get into, the oneness that they feel when they're flying, because nothing else matters in that moment, and they're hyper focused on what they're doing, and it's an experience like you can't get anywhere else on the planet. And so I felt like that was a perfect pairing to what I had learned with my last company, and that's where Jump comes from. So not only is it entertainment, but it could be something that is transformational for people. I believe it is. You know, it's still out on whether or not. We got to collect a lot of data and understand a lot more in the experience. But right now, it's just for fun, and it's awesome. It's still really great to be able to wingsuit base jump. I'm never going to do that in reality. I turn 50 next month, so, and I have two grandkids, so That's not happening for me in physical reality, but I have over 1,000 simulated wingsuit flights right now, and I'm pretty good. It's awesome. And we used real wingsuit pilots. My buddies came in. We made sure that was 100%. And the simulator is really cool. It actually allows you to stand on the edge, and you get to jump out, and it catches you in a wind system and a suspension system, and then you fly wherever you want to, and then it pulls you back into a parachute moment, and then you parachute forward, and you get the toggles and everything. You land back on your feet. It's really
Wow, that
cool.
just sounds fun. Um, so I know we jumped in with Scooby-Doo just because, I mean, who doesn't love Scooby-Doo? But I want to just back up really, really far here.
Sure.
Where it all started with you. You had mentioned like painting and all that fun stuff, and farming. So what started all this with you, right? I know that there was a farm that you worked on when you were younger, correct?
Yes.
Grandparents' farm.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, back then, you our bus stop was 2 miles away from our house, so we rode our motorcycles to the bus stop, and then we were another hour to school. And so when we come home, we would ride home, jump on our motorcycles, come home, and then we had to move sprinkler pipes and pull weeds. And it was 860 acres of my dad's farm. My grandparents were mint farmers. My dad was a sugar beet and corn farmer, so most of our farm was actually that. But it was cool. I mean, our nearest neighbors were like a mile away. So our friends were like a mile away, 2 miles away. And I had four brothers, and we all learned to depend on each other, and probably learned good work ethics and entrepreneurism from my dad. My dad put on the line. When they say you bet the farm every year, that's a very real thing. Like you bet the whole farm, and you get enough money to be able to get supplies and new equipment for the next season. And if that doesn't work out, if the winter comes in, which it did the last time we were there, winter came in, killed everything, and we had to move to Utah, which was good because now I'm doing what I do now.
And so how was that? I mean, like growing up, being on a farm, and then you were like, okay, I'm not doing the farm. I'm going to go over here and do this. How was that like stress wise? Because the thing that you were just talking about, jump, how that works with like mental health and stuff like that. Like what made you want to build something to help with that? Like what was like, I need to do something, or, what was like, I should probably help with this. Was there something that happened, or was there something that you were like, this is something that I should work with to help?
Yeah. I would say that is evolution, not so much when I was on the farm. I garnered really good work ethics and entrepreneurialism from my dad, and I think that was really important as part of everything. But really, the transformation for me happened, when we were doing the Void project. We were doing simulations. They're called the hyper realistic simulations, where heat and wind and scent and everything was involved, and we were blending reality so well that it just felt like reality. And through doing so many of the simulations, there was other facets of things in my life with my relationship with my wife and stuff that go into play. But during that time, I had spent so much time in simulation. Actually, we had this, I'll spin off a little bit, but we had this saying that adults went in one side and kids came out the other side from the void. And that was because for some reason, when you're hyper present in the moment, and there, when you came out, everything felt new, everything felt cool. And I mean, I saw like Larry Page and Steven Spielberg come through, and they were grumpy people on this side, and there were 15, 16-year-old kids on the other side, and everything was new. And so I got really fascinated with that. And so I would say doing hundreds of hours of simulated hyper reality experiences, it got me to question reality. And that's kind of where things began. And I spun down quantum theory and other religious practices, and entanglement stuff, and enlightenment techniques. And I was really trying to find like what's reality made of. And that's kind of where my real depth and journey came from, to creating Jump, which is kind of like the movie Inception, if you put it that way. Because what I had done is I inceptioned myself. So that's why I know that Jump will be successful in what it does, because it happened to me. I got to question like my full potential and what reality was, and what we're really doing here. And want to give that to everybody with the jump experience, honestly.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. Um, with all the work that you have done, um, how how did you handle all of the stress? Was there something? I mean, I know uh, everyone handles stress differently. Was there something like in particular? Was there a song? Was there a technique? Was there? I mean, like what did you do?
Through trying to find the right techniques and stuff to utilize hyper reality in the best way, I did my own stuff. I found meditation techniques and people that would teach me, and books and stuff on how to learn how to do, like, transcendental meditation is a meditation that I do now, and I also do some other techniques from other cultures, the Vedic literature and yogic traditions. But as far as like handling stress, it's evolved over my whole life, and I would say definitely early on in my life, I was reactionary to situations that were happening in my life, and I was more projecting future situations and stressing about it in the moment. And now I don't do that as much. I would be lying if I said that I never do it, but I still am a human being, and I create those scenarios, and I'm not present in the moment. But I think dealing with stress was learning how to really like understand, when I start feeling those kind of the stress or the emotions taking over, then I remember, like, in the moment, like, what's happening right now. Well, what's happening right now is none of those things. And I come back to the moment, and then I'm able to perform the way that I need to in the moment, whether, whatever I'm doing in the moment. And that kind of eliminates stress in my life.
Yeah. So if you could go back and talk to a younger you, is what would you tell a younger you?
Let's see. That's a good question. And kind of would say something around the idea of, um, there's this quote that I have that says, and it's slightly religious quote, but it says, if you rely on your own calculations and interpretations of reality, then that's all you'll be left with. So, if you're not allowing space for the divine to come in and help you with something, then you're going to be left alone with what you are calculating by yourself. And so you have to leave room, do as much as you can, and then let the rest of it just happen. And if you just focus on, I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, and then you try to put it all together and cover all the bases, you're going to drive yourself crazy, and you're not leaving room for the divine to come in and help out. And that is, I think that's probably one of the most important things. And that quote is helped me a lot in my life. And that, I love it.
That is really, some good stuff there. So for those that are listening, that are going through something difficult or some major stressors, or maybe that's feeling alone, what is one thing that you could give them, or a piece of advice that you could give them that maybe you did when you were, feeling alone, or, in one of those moments of yourself?
Um, I can't think of anything very specific, like a moment. But I can tell you probably one of the most critical things that I've learned and I've tested over several years is the more that you remove anything that generates separateness in your life, the happier you will be. And that's everything. Like, if there's any kind of conversation or any kind of situation where you feel separateness in the conversation, and that can be all over the board, and towards more unity and oneness, the happier you will be in your life. And that's kind of a broad thing to say, but there's several examples of separateness that are in all kinds of things, like even just physical reality. You think that we're separate and we're talking, and that's not true. In the quantum realm, like, everything is connected, everything is one. So even in science, like, if you just understand the science side of reality, you will realize that there's no separation between things. And so once you start understanding there's no separation between things, then you stop making excuses for your reality and what's happening in your reality, and you take more responsibility of what's going on. And so that's what I would say is anything that is perpetuating separateness in your life, whatever you're reading. And one of the things that I use in looking at working with people that are on their journey to go, become enlightened is if they are taking steps to separate themselves from people that they love and their culture, they're going the wrong direction. If they're saying, I'm going to go out in the wilderness for 40 days and be by myself, that's the wrong direction, because you need people, they're unity, we're all one. And so that's what I would say is find the things that are creating separateness in your life and eliminate them and understand
Yes.
why they're not separate.
I love that. I love that. So yeah, real quick, I read that Jump won an award, right?
Yep.
An outstanding achievement. Yeah.
Yeah, we won
Can you share
several awards.
can you share a little bit about that?
We won the biggest one is probably the Thea Award that we won, and we went to Disney property to accept that award. There's only so many of those given out every year, and the group that won the award the same year was Universal for doing Jurassic Park World in Beijing or something. So it was massive. Like their project was probably hundreds of millions of dollars to create what they created out there. So we were very grateful and thankful for them to be able to come out and experience Jump. But Jump is very unique. It's not a ride that you are on, and there's nobody push and go on the button to make the thing do the thing. It's probably one of the first simulators that are user activated to start. You activate it with your body when you jump. It's tracking what you're doing. It's anticipating what you're doing and predicting what you're doing and then jumping. And so we won the award for all of the technology side of it, but then we won the award also for kind of the future thinking behind hyper realistic simulations for training, education, and entertainment. Mostly entertainment right now, but eventually it will get into those other facets and business verticals.
I love that. I love that. So I know Utah, right, is where you are located.
Yep.
Yeah. So is that right now where is the only location we can get Jump? Like people can go and experience Jump?
Yep. Yeah, we are in Bluffdale, Utah, which is 20 minutes south from Salt Lake City Airport. And we are currently working on raising capital for launching Las Vegas next. The simulators are linked together so you can see each other and talk to each other while you're flying and you're in the experience. If you and I were flying, we'd see each other in the back of the airplane. I'd be like, are you ready to go? And we'll jump out of the airplane just like we would in reality. So in Las Vegas, we're anticipating doing 4 to 6 jump bays there. So we'll have 4 to 6 people would be able to jump together and fly at the same time.
So I mean, to help me and the audience understand it a little bit better, like do we just like go in like a room, like a virtual reality room, and like have the like a parachute on and like headsets on, and then we like it looks like we're in an airplane? Is that kind of how that is? And then we just like jump out of the airplane?
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty much like an illusion, so you don't really get to see behind the curtain. We do have moments where you get to take a little brief peek behind the curtain and see what's going on up in the lobby, but for the most part, you don't know when you are attached to the machine. You don't feel it. You're completely. It feels like you're untethered and you're standing on the edge of a cliff, or you're standing atop in an airplane. So you go into a little room, you don't really see everything, and then once you put on the VR goggles and you're effectively blindfolded from the real world, then the simulator room opens up and all the magic happens to make it work.
Sounds fun. Sounds fun. And I definitely want to, try one time. And I did also see, I think it was, you did like, you helped, the machine went to Hawaii. It was like a relaxing did like brainwave.
Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about that? What that was?
Yeah, that was an interesting project. That was called SenseInc, and it was between the Void project and Jump. I did that project with Adam Ghazali at UCSF and another gentleman that came in as the CEO, and we created a hyper-realistic float pod where it was more a not a deprivation pod, but a stimulation pod, if you will. You'd lay down. There was haptic feedback transducers that would do vibrational frequencies in your body, and then scent and wind, and you would basically float inside of these experiences where all kinds of creative things happen while you're relaxing. And the hypothesis behind it with Adam Ghazali at UCSF was, even if you go get a body massage, you're still not relaxing your brain, because you can be thinking about work and what your wife said and what's going on in your life, and you're not really relaxing. Your body might be feeling better, but you're psychologically you're not there. And so he called it a deep brain massage, which is awesome. So one of the experiences was these crystal caves, for instance, and you would just start floating down these crystal caves, and there's vibration, and you could smell the environment. And every time you would breathe, because we had biometrics in it, every time you took deep breaths, the crystals would light up really bright, and then they would go dark again. And as you were breathing, going down this cave, then it kind of progressed all the way down to the end, where there's very kind of deep rumblings and stuff and vibrational frequencies that relax your whole body. Super cool project. We also had other ones where it was like kind of finger painting through space. And my favorite one was called quantum oneness, which was a concept that I put together, which was, if you know anything about quantum theory, the idea was, if you could slow down reality slow enough, like so slow that you could see subatomic particles creating objects, what would that look like? And that was one of the experiences. So as you gaze into particle systems, they would create something. Like one would create a record player, and you would start hearing the record player, and then if you looked away, then it would disperse back into particles, and you look at something else, it would create something else. It was a really awesome experience. We were doing that project for kind of the healthcare side of things, and it was this chicken and egg thing for investments that we said, this would be really great if we could do this, and here's some of the physical and psychological benefits. And people were like, oh, it sounds awesome. Where's the data that shows that it works? And we'll invest. And we're like, well, we kind of need your money to get the data to then show that it works. So it was a good project. Yeah, it had a little bit of complication between the partners inside of the project, but overall it was a good learning experience, and that's getting us to use some of those concepts and those ideas around that application, even inside of Jump. So
yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and
course.
share your wonderful world and the amazing things you've done, and some great advice with us. I'm looking forward to getting out there to experience Jump, because it really sounds like a fun time. If there's anyone that would like to reach out to you, or work with you in any way, is there a website or something that they can go to?
Yes.
I'll definitely make sure the team links it with your show as well. But
yeah, of course, go to limitlessflight.com, and you can see our website there. And I believe down at the bottom, if you're interested in investing in a location, there is an investment opportunity thing at the bottom that you can check out. You can reserve passes there and see all of our latest stuff. So our handles on social media are Jump by Limitless Flight or Limitless Flight. So you'll see all of the fun stuff. We have a pretty big TikTok following, and it's pretty fun to see some of the reactions. We have focused a lot on the reactions of people on the edge, and maybe to end with some of what Jump is all about. And you probably have seen this in some of my videos, but Jump is this really cool place where you can go and you can stand on the edge of fear, where you are sometimes in your life, and it's just not real. You're projecting something in the future or the past, and in that moment you need to realize that it's not real, and to jump past it and see success. And that's what Jump allows you to do, is stand on the edge of something that feels very real and very scary, and to realize that it's not real, and that you can do it and jump past it. And it's our hypothesis, by having this experience, you could rewire your neural network to deal with fear emotions and situations a lot better, and to be able to push through those and see success.
Yeah, I mean, that's some good stuff there too. And if you're able to actually do jump, right? Like that would be a good way, as you said, to rewire the brain so you can, yeah, I like that. I like
Exactly.
that. So yeah, definitely something that I'm sure the audience could, look into and hopefully, when you get it in Las Vegas, get out to Las Vegas or Utah. So yeah, I
Yep.
love it. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Yeah, look forward to communicating with you sometime in the future and getting out there and experiencing jump for myself. So
Awesome.
again, thank you, Mr. Jensen, for coming on. And I hope you have an amazing day.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.